many varieties of snowmobile racing. Here in the Sioux, there is only one. The biggest enduro oval event in the world, the annual Sioux I-500, with over $35,000 in cash payouts, is the big one for racers from across Canada and the United States. Here at the 26th Annual Classic, you have to be a winner just to qualify. In fact, only 35 sleds will start the race. Bigger dollars mean bigger teams, faster sleds in the pursuit to win. Once a team registers to qualify, it's off to the tech center. A heated building provides room for a machine to come in for inspection. The hood is removed and the tech director records chassis identification numbers. Spark plugs are removed so cylinder calibrations can be measured internally. Special markers are used to ID the engine block. The chassis and block are the only two items on the race sled that cannot be changed after qualifying and on race day. We asked Steve Brosco, technical director, what tech inspection is all about.
Well, there's many things we check in the technical inspection building. It's mostly a safety check. We go over all the safety features on the snowmobile, the tether cord, the mud flap, the tail light, certain things like that. We're also checking for engine size. All sleds must be under 600 cc's here in the Sioux, and it's hard to determine that. So what we have to do is go into the cylinders. The cylinders are round, and they're measured in millimeters, but the sleds are cubic centimeter, which would give you the cc's of 600. What to do is you charge to convert from the millimeters to the centimeters and get your final cc's. It takes a little bit of algebra and a lot of math to get it figured out, but it's fairly easy with the tools we have.
Ski stance is also measured, as maximum width allowed is 42 inches. After careful examination and documentation, the hood is replaced and you're ready to qualify. Number 76, Ivan Hansen, has been tearing up the MIRA Enduro circuit this year and finished High Points champion in '93. He's always one to watch here in the Sioux. Qualifying has always been very exciting to watch. The sleds are set up totally different than on race day. Some injuries are sustained if a driver pushes his sled too hard in the corner, or if a track derails or breaks up due to the high straightaway speed. In 1989, Dan Kurtz blew a track and was thrown off his sled. Damage to the sled was unbelievable, and Dan wasn't feeling that well either. Each registered qualifier has 2 attempts to qualify, meaning if he doesn't like the way his first lap went, he's allowed to wave off before hitting the laser to start the clock. Qualifying speeds are calculated on a 2-lap average. Once the driver leaves the chute, he has the first lap to build speed for his start the clock run, or he can wave off on his first attempt to qualify. If a driver decides to wave off on his first attempt, he has to ride it out for his second attempt. Ivan qualifies his Polaris with a 2-lap average speed of 88.55 miles per hour. Some fans have radar guns to record straightaway speeds. Officials in the timing booth have laser beam time clocks that are computer driven. The beam is shot across the track and reflected back to another receiver in front of the timing booth. When the sled breaks the beam, it either starts or stops the clock. Jeff Kiffmiller waits his turn in the chute. He's got a hot new Skidoo Mach Z with a special hybrid 600 Rotex triple. He'll be sure to turn some heads here today. Jeff's just burning up the track. He's reaching speeds of 126 miles per hour on the straightaway. His first lap recorded an average speed of 94.45 miles per hour. On his second lap, Jeff turned 94.21 miles per hour, giving him a combined 2-lap average of 94.33 and a new track record. The last record was set in 1986 by Dan Kurtz riding a Formula One Skidoo. His record was 91.20. Wow, what a fine margin, 13/100ths of a second. Jeff now has to bring his sled directly back to tech, where he'll await further inspection. The sled is rechecked at this point to ensure engine and chassis remain in compliance with I-500 regulations. We asked Jeff what it was like to set a new track record.
It was a good feeling. That's what we come up here to do. I mean, basically, we've been playing with this sled all year, really haven't run it. That's what we come up here to do with it. We knew it was capable of doing it. So putting out good horsepower all year, so we're happy, real happy. I've been up here a lot of years, and I feel real good. I kind of feel like the king of the mountain right now.
We also bumped into Dan Kurtz and asked him about having his track record broken.
Records are made to be broke. If they didn't want them broke, they wouldn't put them in a book. And I was very surprised that the record didn't fall long before this, you know, with new technology and the better engines and the clutching and stuff like they got. But shoot, I'm happy to have it as long as I did, and I couldn't have went to a better person outside of my son.
70 machines attempted to qualify for this year's Sioux 500. There were 471 time trial attempts. You sure do bump into some big-name racers out here, like Chuck Decker, Formula One sprint racer, Paul Mack, a notable cross-country racer from Minnesota, the team of Fast Performance, Todd Wolfe and Carl Swartz, Steve Hull and the versatile John Wick, to name a few. Wick is the defending champion here, winning back-to-back victories in '92 and '93. He also has a strong background in snowcross and cross-country terrain racing. We asked Chuck Decker, a notable Formula One racer and promoter of the prestigious World Championship Snowmobile Derby of Eagle River, what the major difference is between sprint tracks and the track in the Sioux.
Long straightaways. I don't know. You know, I haven't been on a track yet this weekend. It's the first time going out right now, but from what I remember, the straightaways are long. It's a nice track. You know, you got bang corners, a lot of room in the corners. I know it gets real rough towards the end of the race, or even halfway through, but that's enduro race, and that's what's kind of fun about it. But it's a track really unique, just like Eagle River. There's no other track like the Sioux, and so that's kind of one of the fun things about coming here. It's a big race.
Late on the last day of qualifying, John Wick's getting pretty nervous. In fact, there's 35 drivers currently on the starting grid for race day, and another 35 that have tried desperately to vie for a position in the starting field. In John's case, like a lot of other racers, it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to make it through the waiting lineup in the chute. The pressure is on to make that starting field. If he doesn't, he will have no chance to defend his title in this year's race. John waves off. He's not happy with the way the sled's been running at all. He has been here for 3 full days of qualifying and just can't bring his speed up. John needs an 84 miles per hour 2-lap average speed to make the starting field. A decision is made to take the sled into the trailer for one final look. Qualifying will probably run till midnight, which gives the team one last shot at getting John on the board. They must work hard. It seems the team did some minor alterations to John's Sioux sled, and now it's back in line in the chute. To increase his chances of making the field, the team prepares John's Snowcross sled for qualifying. New pipes are put on. New Woodies carbides are also installed. Clutching and gearing must be changed. Under the lead hand of John Sr., the chain case must come off to get at the gears. Other crew members continue to work on changing the windshield and carbides. New gears are selected to give top high-end speed because in Snowcross the sled is geared for bottom-end performance. The gears are temporarily put into place to ensure proper alignment with the use of a straight edge. Once the gears are shimmed to proper depth, the chain is installed. Adjustments are made to chain tension and the cover is reinstated. Final preparation is completed and it's time to run the sled through tech. Friday morning, the day before the race, gives teams and officials time to prepare for Saturday's race. The track has some new water applied to smooth out some attrition from qualifying. 2 large water trucks will pour water on for the next 12 hours. A total of 151,000 gallons of water were used to build this year's track. Snowcross rider Steve Hansen prepares a suspension for a ZR 580. He's running with ATM Racing. ATM also has another support trailer for Polaris driver Jim Kurtz. Jim puts a new edge on some of his carbide runners. In order to qualify, sleds are set up totally different from the way they will start the race and complete the 500-mile enduro. Track suspensions will have to be raised up to withstand the bumpy track after the first 100 miles of racing. Troy Pierce and the Deckers go over some last-minute setups for their Polaris entry. Race day starts mighty early here in the Sioux. All sleds must go through tech once again before going to their starting grid. The engines and chassis are examined to confirm it's the same machine the team qualified with. Once they are checked, the sleds must go directly to the track where they will await a driver's start your engines. Steve Brosco wears two hats here. He pilots the Yamaha VMAX 600 as a pace sled. Note here that John Wicht is indeed in the starting field. As machines head down the front stretch, let's round off our top 10 qualifiers. In the pole position, it's number 45, Jeff Kiffmiller. In second, it's Kurt Medler, number 185. In third spot is Todd Cricky, number 60. Rusty Chartrand, number 21, holds down fourth position. Ivan Hansen, number 76, is in fifth spot. Sixth is Ken Mayer. Seventh, Rich Crane. Eighth, Terry Moran. Ninth, Alan Milkey. And rounding up the top 10 is the team of Troy Pierce and Chuck Decker. 9 of the top 10 qualifiers are Polaris, with Jeff Kiffmiller on top of the pole with his Skidoo. Kurt Medler experiences some difficulties and drops back. As the crowd anticipate a green flag will soon be racing. When the green flag came out, racing was fast and furious. Putting the first lap into the record book, it's Todd Cricky, followed by Chartrand and Hansen. With temperatures hovering around 0 degrees Fahrenheit and strong winds blowing, spectating became quite a challenge. The first mishap occurred in corners 3 and 4 when Rich Otterson and Alan Milkey got into a fender bender. Ambulances were called in and both drivers were taken to the hospital. By lap 20, number 21, Russ Chartrand took control of the race by passing Cricky. Sixth place qualifier Ivan Hansen moved his XLT up to challenge Chartrand for the lead. Also moving up the ladder is veteran driver Mike Stasak. Stasak's backup driver this year is Corey Davidson, another prominent young racer who had some first place feature event wins in the ISOC cross-country circuit. Jeff Kiffmiller took the upper hand at lap 130 and led for 40 laps. Jeff Bosick flipped his sled in corner 1 and broke his hand. His sled doesn't look the best either. Kiffmiller's backup driver, Scott McMillan, flipped the pole sled into the hay at lap 200. At this point, Stasak stepped his XLT into first spot. Also making his way into the top 10 is defending champion John Wicht. Let's go into the pits and check on Kiffmiller's sled. Jeff Kiffmiller waits for his sled to be towed in. This is an awful disappointment for this team. When the sled arrives, it looks pretty bad. The steering and skis are twisted up. Corners 1 and 2 are recognized to be the most dangerous part of the 1-mile track. Past years have seen countless wrecks, including the 1989 race when number 71, Louis Bays, flipped and twisted his Polaris around corner 1. The 1990 race saw number 26, Mike Landman, crash his Polaris in this corner, along with back-to-back wrecks of Bob Spears riding the number 111 sled for Team Scream. The 1991 race saw Ron Rowe tumble his sled on the pace lap, thrilling fans before the race even got underway. A major wreck occurred just before the first plowing when a 4-machine pileup developed in the first turn. Surprisingly, all drivers were up and none was seriously injured. A commendable job by the other drivers who avoided further calamity in this blind corner. As we watch again in slow motion, we can see the number 8 sled of Terry Wright ricocheting off the flipped sled of Tim Havercroft. The number 26 sled of Mike Landon comes in on the inside, hitting the downed Arctic Cat and throwing the driver onto the track. Danny O'Connor, having nowhere to go, collides with the downed sled, tossing him from the machine. Troy Don and Ken Manning shoot the gap, avoiding further injury to themselves and the downed drivers. 1992's I-500 saw 3 separate mishaps occurring in corners 1 and 2. The first occurred when Troy Pierce goosed Steve Houle coming around into corner 2. The second larger accident happened at the 170 lap mark. We had a major collision in turn 2. Drivers and machines strewn all over this corner. The yellow flag is out. The ambulance is quickly dispatched from the pit area and the tow sleds are pulling twisted machines off the track. From the damage this sled sustained, we can see the results of a high-speed impact. Also involved in this wreck is the number 1 sled of Curtis Weber with a twisted left front. As medical crews take special care with the injured drivers, we note that injuries were minimal. From what little footage we do have of the actual wreck, you can see inside the box the 23 driver Terry Moran waving his arms beside his disabled sled. Unsuspecting 39 Ken Mayer comes flying around corner 2 straight into the Moran sled, knocking Moran to the track. Mayer being hurled off his sled from the impact. Let's do a quick recap of the teams involved. It was the 23 entry of Terry Moran, which was struck from the rear.
Something wrong with his leg or something. He was talking.
This is one Polaris that will never race again. It was the number 9 sled of Ken Mayer which struck the Moran sled. The Mayer team has competed in every single running of the I-500. The number 1 sled of Curtis Weber, which came around in the aftermath, striking debris on the track. One of the most unusual events of all unfolded late in the race when 2 sleds collided. The driver on the inside got thrown from his sled onto the other sled, which is vacant. I bet they couldn't do that again, even if they tried. The 25th annual race was one of the safest races run. The only incident involved a track derailment for Rich Crane on his Yamaha. Even going back to the first race, wiping out was always part of the program here in the Sioux. We're back in the pits with Jeff Kiffmiller to see what the outlook is regarding the broken ski. Scott McMillan looks unscathed but disappointed. Head wrench Bob Benner and the team gets to work straightening out the bent skidoo. The ski leg is stripped and tie rods are bent. As Jeff looks on, he knows his chances of a first-place finish are next to none. Upon further inspection, Bob notices a cracked slider and makes the decision to drop the suspension and change the sliders. It's not long before a new slider is pounded on and fastened. A broken spring has to be removed and replaced with a new one. The suspension is put back into the chassis. The team is ready to go back on the track. They lost about 70 laps due to this mishap. With 250 laps in the record book, Mike Stasak is leading the race. Ivan Hansen is 2 laps behind, holding down second spot. John Wick has made his move through the field, securing 6th position. Also in the top 10 is 1989 winner George Sherrard, riding the number 80 Skidoo. After leading the race for 120 laps, Stasak falls back, making way for Ivan Hansen. At the 285 lap point, George Sherrard lost control of his Skidoo, crashing into the fence coming out of corner 2. The fans helped get the busted Mach-Z out from the tangled up fence. George seems okay, but complains of a sore arm. It's later realized that the arm is broken. A lost connecting arm results in the machine dropping way back and out of contention for the rest of the race. We asked race director Steve Wilson how the race was progressing.
It's going real good today. The guys are been driving really smart out there. We had a really good start today. Half a dozen of them have came up to me and hit me on the back and said, man, it's been here for 15 or 20 years racing and I've never seen such a good start. We did a little bit different on this front straight this year. We went out about 3 o'clock Friday afternoon and we put a little bit of urea down and a little bit of regular rock salt down, and 4 o'clock this morning we went out and spread a ton of calcium chloride out there, and I think that might have been the ticket on knocking that snow dust down. There's even a little bit more snow dust on that front straight than there was in the back straight where we didn't put the calcium.
This weather front moving in, you think that's going to affect us at all, or you think we'll be able to go the full 500?
Well, I've been up and down here. I'm going to try and keep with these drivers. They're the ones out there, you know, and you get their opinion. We're going to make the final call, but as it is, it kind of blows in and out, and it's not awful too bad right now. So we're going to ride it out for a while.
Okay, Steve, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Ivan, you're running first spot. How's it feel? How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty good right now. I hate to say how it feels because it's going to feel better on lap 499.
What's this shake and bake? Well, it's an innovative way to mix the oil with the gas if you forget before putting it in the sled. If you do forget, you can always give your sled a good shake. With blowing snow playing havoc with the visibility, the race continued on. At the 400-lap mark, due to Hansen's extended pit stop, John Wick took the lead. Let's round off the top 10 teams at the 400-lap mark. John Wick is currently in first. Ivan Hansen second. Third is Craig Wellman. Fourth, Mike Stazak. Fifth, number 34, Steve Edwards. In sixth spot, we find Troy Pierce. Seventh is number 12, Rob Blackwell. Eighth is Ken Manning on the Cat. Ninth is teammate Jim Kurtz, and rounding off the top 10 is number 72, the team of Carl Swartz and Todd Wolf on the Skidoo. Hansen's got his problems ironed out and is now hunting down our leader, John Wick. With severe wind conditions, the temperature fell to about 30 degrees below zero. On lap 426, it was Ivan Hansen taking control of the race. For the rest of the day, Hansen didn't look back and went on to claim the 26th annual I-500 as his own. This will give Hansen over $22,000 in cash, not to mention another $7,500 contingency money from Polaris. Race director Steve Wilson presents the checkered flag to Ivan Hansen and Bob Sass for a well-deserved win. There they are on a victory lap finish, a full 2 laps ahead of second place finisher John Wick. That's one happy Ivan Hansen taking it home to Lachine, Michigan. He succeeded in keeping the trophy here in Michigan by defeating John Wick.
Ivan, you told me earlier in the day that you felt this was going to be your race.
Yeah, we came right down to the last, 80 laps or so. They were on the same lap, or we were a lap down, and we put the right carbide on and topped her up with gas, and we got just enough to make it. And carbide did the trick. We had, that Roten runners, and that did the trick getting it on into the finish there. And a lot of other sleds were pushing, and we weren't. We'd zip right around the corners and get them all in the corners.
Did you feel that pressure from John Wick right on your tail there? I mean, I know you passed him around the 390.
Yeah, around, that 400 mark there, I was thinking things were going to be a tough day. But then as it progressed to the next 50, 60 laps there, I knew we were going to, if the sled held together, we were going to come out on top.
You did an excellent job. So out of 5 races this year, 5 enduro races, what is that, 4 out of 5 you've won? 3 within the Triple Crown too. We seem to be winning every other weekend, so you have to come to Lincoln again. How did that Polaris run for you?
Pretty good. It started out a little slow, but we had a few things done to it that made it do that, and then it came on, and a little bit later on, we got in the lead pretty early too there. So it did a good job, the Polaris, and Pro 5 did all the setup on it. They're the ones that made it go like it did. All I had to do was sit there and pull the trigger.
If you like oval racing, you'll have to check out some MIRA action. The Midwest International Racing Association sanctions various amateur and pro category races. They stage everything from stock to pro enduro racing. Here, President and flagman Tom Pollard gives the flag to an outlaw class race. Anything goes here in the outlaw class. Number 95, Pat Erskine, battles it out with Tom St. John on the Cat. St. John takes Erskine coming out of 3 to take the white flag. Sprint races like these are 5 to 10 laps depending on the track conditions. Tom hangs on to the end, taking this heat. Safety is always top priority with MIRA. Tom Pollard goes over the flags in a driver's meeting to eliminate any doubts for the new drivers. Mike Stazak takes the checkered flag in 91 of the Muskegon Race Course. This race is run mid-January and kicks off MIRA's schedule of events. A couple of amateurs find out the hard way about wiping your goggles off in the corner. Ouch! This rider has some problems with keeping his hood intact. That's okay, as long as it still runs so I can finish the race. Yep, it seems okay. What's this? I need a new hood anyway. Who needs it? The banks around the oval really tend to slow a sled down, so if you're traveling faster than your sled, this could happen to you. Occasionally, MIRA will hold a mechanics class. This gives opportunity for the rest of the team to get involved in racing. Staysack sled is flipped by sponsor Jeff Dobson. This was a splitting experience. If you think the Pro-Am classes are entertaining, check out the feature Pro Enduro. It's Louis Bays again, getting ejected off his Polaris. Surprisingly enough, he's up before the snow dust settles. What happens when you get a pylon stuck in your ski? Well, maybe Tom Bosick can kick it off so you won't lose any time in the pits. Tom can't seem to get it off. He'll just go ahead and pick one up himself. It looks like two can play at this game. Albright Shores hosts the annual Gladwin County Ice Carnival. This short, exciting track is one you won't want to miss on the MIRA schedule. Jeff Kiffmiller loses it in quarter 3 and 4 during the 56 horsepower class. It's not long before Jeff's back on the track to finish with a broken wrist. This is a very exciting corner and a real magnet for wrecks as class after class have a hard time negotiating this turn. Hey man, get out of my way! Back for the outlaw class, green flag, and we're racing. Jeff Kiffmiller's out there on his twin tracker and Dan Kurtz on his Formula One Skidoo. This is the same sled that held the qualifying speed record in the Sioux for the past 9 years. Look at him motor away from the rest of the pack. Corner 3 and 4 again. Whoa! Hold on to it, Mike. Not only is the course here short and fast, but warm weather will turn the ice surface into water. The track is actually built on a circular pond. Dan Kurtz hangs on till the end for another notch in his belt. By the time the feature Pro Enduro event rolls around, the track has been narrowed because of water buildup on the inside of both corners. Oh, it's the number 30 sled of Troy Don finding some. As the race progresses, more water is evident, and its presence makes the corners even harder to negotiate. The track gets more narrow as the day goes on. Soon it could qualify for a watercross event. We've seen pylons get past. Well, now it's time for the hay bales. Nice catch. I bet it's hard to turn with a hay bale under your sled. Now, about that watercross, what's the rule again? It's a good thing the race is over. Bring the Sea-Doos out for the next heat. One of the nicer race courses in Michigan is here in Lincoln. Joining the outlaw class. Oh, hang on, Dan. Dan Kurtz again battling with number 9, Tom St. John. Jeff Kiffmiller on the twin tracker working his way up through the field. Kurtz with a substantial lead is really smoking here today. It's not long before Kiffmiller is in second spot and hunting Kurtz for the lead. A white flag comes out for Kurtz. He gets caught behind Erskine coming out of 2, and Kiffmiller jumps on this opportunity for the lead on the last lap, and it's Jeff Kiffmiller with the win. If you like speed or if you like muscle, then you'll love drag racing. This is the performance battleground of the racing industry. Performance names like Aon, Aero, The Crank Shop, Decker, Polar Performance, Fast, PSI, HRP, RPC, just about the whole alphabet is here at the World Series competition.
People think that, just because you go in a straight line, it's easy. It's not. It's hard to get your traction, your clutching right, your gearing, your carburation, and you got to work all that together. And it's hard to do. Just because you go in a straight line don't mean it's easy. I mean, these sleds reach 130 miles an hour in an eighth mile. And it's quite a rush.
The annual ISR World Series is not for the tame in spirit. This is strictly business. 750-plus sleds come together the second week of February for the largest gathering of its kind. 3 separate sanctioning bodies headed up by ISR, International Snowmobile Racing, pool their efforts to run this event. Sleds are weighed for class qualification. The open class has a minimum weight of 250 pounds for the sled, whereas the heavy mod class weighs both driver and sled for a minimum combined weight of 500 pounds. Teams are in constant search for the right setup. Keep them cool, add a little fuel, draw a pin, and sit right in. Here we get a good look at Bill Cudney, always a strong contender on both ice and grass drag circuits. He's riding with Dunnigan Racing. Under the lead hand of Dave Dunnigan, they continue to dial the sled in. Again, we stress the teams are in constant pursuit of the right setup. Tighter belt, new plugs, and keep them cool. Push them out to the track. Watch the starter and pray for a good light. Oh well, back to the drawing board. The Open 1000 class is otherwise known as the Top Gas class. Here we find Garth Gordon on the aero-prepared sled in lane 6, while Todd Serra sits in lane 2. In lane 1, it's PSI's Charlie Ryder. Serra jumps the light. He'll be disqualified, and it's Gordon on the outside to win this heat. In this heat, it's Mark Gellermany on the crankshop-built machine in lane 5. Brian Bellman pulls into lane 6. In lane 2, Charlie Ryder, and in lane 1, it's Gordon. They get the light, and it's Bellman. He takes this heat and will move on. Dave Lamb is in lane 6, while Bill Cudney in 5. In lane 2, Scott Copeland, and in lane 1, John Schultz. They get the light. Schultz with the hole shot. Cudney shifting gears to the big end, and Schultz closes the door. In the quarterfinal round, Bellman's back in lane 6. Lane 5, Tom Martin. Dave Trigstad in lane 1. This is going to be a good one. Trigstad jumps out of the hole, pulling away from Martin to win this heat. In the semifinal round, it's Cudney in 6, Larry Teedy in lane 5, Mark Gellermany in lane 1. Gellermany gets the hole shot. Cudney comes on strong, but it's Mark Gellermany in lane 1 with the victory. Okay, final race for the Top Gas Championship. Bill Cudney in 6, Mark Gellermany in 5. In lane 2, Brian Bellman. And in lane 1, Dave Trigstad. They get the light and all sleds are off to an even start, but it's Gellermany moving upstairs to win this class. Performance is really what drag racing is all about. For the engine builder, this is the playground for research and design. This is Olaf Ayen. He designed and built a super V4 monster engine especially for drag racing. Olaf has over 30 years experience building high-performance products for the racing community. We asked Olaf to tell us a little more about the V4.
Well, basically this is a prototype engine. It's a brand new design. It's a V4, which is unusual for a snowmobile. We believe it has a lot of advantages. It's a short, compact design, and we can cram 1100 cc's into a weight and a space that normally, you could cram an 800 triple into. So we can get a lot of horsepower out of a very small package. The fuel injection by itself will compensate for the weather. It's just if we wanted, to squeeze it just a little harder.
Yeah.
Pushing it a little harder. That's what it's all about, to get down to the big end just a little faster than the sleds beside you. The Woodies Challenge is definitely the most sought-after event in the history of the sport. Dave the Trigger Trigstad is the reigning champion of this prestigious event. He builds his own chassis and runs a crankshop-built engine. Garth Gordon is always a strong contender in World Series competition, as he surprised everyone last year with a second-place finish. Let's look at some teams that are doing well this race weekend. Gary Quarrell, for instance, he took first in the 800 heavy mod. Or Blair Flynn's first place in the 800 open. Or hey, how about Paul McLeod's 5 first-place wins in heavy and open mod classes? Then there's Craig Marchbank. High points champion for the Pro Stock. The list goes on and on. The 800s will run 2 abreast from this point on. Here we catch up with Roy Carpenter on the outside and Craig Marchbank on the inside. Marchbank catches the light with Carpenter catching some snow. Marchbank will move on to victory. Bart Magnus in lane 3 for Heat 8, and beside him is Mike Wasco of Beerline Racing. They both get a good jump, but Wasco works his way down the strip to take this one. Wentz in lane 4 is only running a 660, but he's doing extremely well with it. They both get the light, and Wasco's out of the hole like a shot. Wasco will go on with this one easily. In Heat 10, Paul McLeod's on the outside with Bill Cudney in lane 3. Cudney jumps out of the hole, but it's McLeod on to the big end to win this heat. Second place finisher in last year's challenge, Garth Gordon in lane 4 with Craig Marchbank in 3. They're both quick on the triggers, but it's downtown to the big end for Craig Marchbank. This series is just full of upsets, but the excitement is unbelievable. Now it's Blair Flynn up against Bill Clemens on the inside lane. They get the green, and they're racing. What a close run. Flynn getting the edge on Clemens, and he will advance. Blair Flynn returns in lane 4, and he's up against Mike Wasco. Both drivers and sleds performing very well here today. Wasco riding for Team Beerline, and Flynn for Spearing Racing. Oh, Wasco having some problems. Flynn way out in front, and he'll advance easily. What a disappointment for Mike Wasco here today, apparently having some type of mechanical difficulties. Heat 14 brings us down to the quarterfinal heat, and it's Craig Marchbank in lane 4 and Paul McLeod in 3. Marchbank's been running really smooth in this year's series, but so is McLeod. This is going to be a very exciting heat. They get the light. Marchbank catches some snow, and McLeod will move on to the final round. Quite a disappointment for Craig Marchbank, but he will get another race against Wasco from Beerline to decide third place. Okay, here we go. Mike Wasco of Beerline Racing on the outside. Craig Marchbank on the 00 sled. Mike gives the signal, and they're away. Wasco gets himself a little sideways out of the hole, but he recovers quickly. What a close heat, but Craig Marchbank prevails for the third place win. And now the race to decide the winner of the coveted Woodies Challenge. It's Paul McLeod on the outside with Blair Flynn inside. They anxiously await the light. They cut a light, and what an even start. Paul McLeod gets the lead and takes this one home to victory. Blair Flynn does what it takes to finish the job here in second place. What an exciting race it's been. Yes, there he is, Paul McLeod, bringing some Michigan money all the way back home to Washington State. Paul McLeod being congratulated by fellow racers and officials.
Next year will be sixth annual.
Brian and Robert Musselman from Woodies Traction and Control Products present the check for $4,000. That's one happy Paul McLeod, 1994 champion of the Woodies Challenge. For those of you who like watching snowmobile drag racing but can't stand winter, it's time to check out a new form of summer recreation. Grass drags are becoming more and more popular. Here at Minnesota's heyday, it's not just your average grass drag event. This is actually the world's largest event of its kind. As in ice drags, the strategies are the same: to get down to the other end of the course first. Aside from great racing action, there's a million other things to do. Ah, the smell of a new sled. This one's fresh out of the crate. It hasn't even been assembled yet. These guys couldn't wait for their dealer to put this storm together. They want to race it this weekend, not wait for a trail ride in early December. The suspension has to be bolted on, then the skis. Fluid levels are topped off. Some further unwrapping and the nose cone is put into place. Don't forget the snow flap, or shall we say mud flap. Well, if you like new snowmobiles, there's plenty here. The 4 manufacturers all have a full-line display, so you can choose the model you'd like to have. Arctic Cat was out in full form for the unleashing of a new cat. The ZR700 got quite a debut. In fact, some found it hard to believe. If you think there's a lot of people here, you're right. Total attendance at this event was 30,000 plus people. Heyday also hosts the very largest swap meet anywhere, with acres of used sleds and accessories. If you need it, they have it somewhere out there. Other types of displays are everywhere, from studs to pipes. It's one-stop shopping at your fingertips. Sleds continued to blast off the starting line all weekend long. Machines of all shapes and sizes put on quite a show for some 30,000 spectators. SWDRA sanctions several grass drags throughout the Midwest. Grace Lake, Illinois sets the stage for the largest combined grass drag and snowmobile show and sale. You have a choice to either catch up on your favorite racer or go inside to over 50,000 square feet of snowmobile-related displays. MSDRA brings us back to Michigan for their annual series of grass drags. Here in Gaylord for the Alpine Cup, we see a lot of familiar sleds from our ice drag competition. Dunnigan's race teams got the interest of the crowd. It seems like driver Bill Cudney has made it to the final round of competition. The rest of the field agree to give Cudney 10 minutes to have the sled ready to race for the championship. Needless to say, the team is under a little pressure to have the sled ready. Both heads and cylinder have to come off to get at the burnt piston. A new piston is put into place. The cylinder has been honed out and is ready to go back on. Cudney's pretty nervous, just waiting, so he'll get right in there and help the team along. The gasket, along with the cylinder heads and head assembly, are replaced. Nothing remains but torquing down the heads. The coolant level is topped off, and preparations are made to bolt on the pipes. Portable tool and accessory caddies are the key to a successful rebuild such as this. Once the last of 3 pipes are secured into position, the Aero 3 banger is ready to fire up. The team is encouraged by the responsive sound of the engine, and they're looking optimistic for the upcoming race. The Alpine Cup is paraded in front of its worthy competitors, and in an explosion of racing fuel and dust, it's Wild Bill Cudney with the lead and win. Wife Pat knows it. What a well-deserved victory here today for Dunnigan Racing. Skidoo representative Jack Goodson presents Bill with the cup. Dave Dunnigan and the rest of the crew are extremely happy here in Gaylord. Snowcross is composed of 3 categories: amateur, semi-pro, and pro, with several classes for each category. Here in a trail class final, we see some exceptional action. Different strategies apply and vary from racer to racer. Coming down the moguls is one of the few places to pass. Smoother courses on either side, so if you want to pass in this section of the course, you basically have to fly over the moguls. The other logical place to try and overcome the leader is on the straight stretches. Speeds of 85 miles per hour are attained here by some of the pro drivers on faster equipment. There's more wear and tear inflicted on these snowmobiles in a single race weekend than an average trail rider would put on in a season. Number 47, Mike Comerford, is leading this race with number 16, Rick Harding, in the hunt for first place. This is a scheduled 6-lap event. Coming out of quarter number 9, we have a new leader, Rick Harding, with Comerford now in second and being dogged by Polaris driver Jim Weinberg. 1 lap to go, and it's Rick Harding on the ZR, holding down a substantial lead. Now it's over the moguls. Harding now taking it easy on his sled, trying to save it for a first-place finish. The battle now is between driver Mike Comerford on the EXT and Tim Weinberg on the number 1 Polaris. They're hitting these bumps a little harder than our leader, Rick Harding. Jerry Dillon has the checkered flag in hand, and it looks like a win for first-place runner Rick Harding. All right, he takes the flag for a well-deserved win, with Comerford and Weinberg still battling to the end for a second and third place finish respectively. In this next race, we find number 17, Margot Hubbard, on her Polaris, and Val Schlaben, number 10, on her Arctic Cat. Both of these women are outstanding drivers. Jerry Dillon lines them up, and they're off. Coming out of turn 4, it's Margot Hubbard. Jim Gunyon second to number 10, Val Schlaben, on her Cat. We actually have 5 Polarises, 3 cats, and what's this, a dog? Looks like a dog wants to find its way over to those cats. Now it's Hubbard 1, Schlaben 2. The ladies are kicking some butt in this race. Actually, the dog is now running 3rd position. These sleds are really catching some air.
Number 17, Margot Hubbard. Followed by number 10, Val Schlaben, moves up into second place. Jim Gunyon, number 439, moves back. And 45, Jim Adams.
The dog has been disqualified for leaving the course. Jerry Dillon now with the checkered flag in hand, and it's going to be Margot Hubbard, and she loves it. The flag stays out for the rest of the field. Val Schlaben finishes 3rd. There she is. Margot Hubbard finishing in 1st spot, beating her competition hands down, including the 4 other Polarises, 3 cats, and a dog. The pro division of Snowcross racing is no place for any puppy dogging around. This is strictly business. Top name drivers like Kirk Hibbert, John Wicht, Aaron Scheel, and Dan Sturgeon, to name a few, are here, and highly polished like prize heavyweight fighters about to step into the ring for a world title match. The first category in the pro division is the pro light class. Here you'll find sleds like the Arctic Cat ZR 440 and Polaris's XCR 440 and Skidoo's MXZ. The Cats are certainly dominating this event. Kirk Hibbert's running 1st, Aaron Scheel 2nd, Dan Sturgeon 3rd, Dwayne Mossing 4th, and John Wicht on the Polaris is running 5th. If you've heard the expression, handle your sled like a pro, this would certainly give you the caliber of driver to compare that cliche to. When the race finishes, they finish in the same order they started, with Hibbert taking 1st place. The next pro class of Snowcross brings us to the Pro Stock event. Again, the same racers at the helm, this time on 580s, such as the ZR, XLT, and MXZ. This time, Polaris takes the lead with Daryl Vick and John Wicht running 1 and 2. Strobel on the Skidoo is 3rd, then Lossing and Hibbert 4th and 5th. Kirk left his 580 back in the pit, so he's a bit of a disadvantage with the 440. John Wicht pushes his move on Vick and is now running at 1st spot. Oh, Oh, Lossing loses it out of corner 9. The crowd jumps back as the sled comes to rest inches from the fence. Hibbert now working his way through the field into second spot with his sights set on our leader, John Wick. Hibbert now right on Wick's tail. He wants to put an extra $500 from Arctic Cat in his pocket, but only if he can pass Polaris rider John Wick. With less than half a lap to go. Oh, Hibbert spins out. That will cost him. He does regain his second place spot, and here's your winner coming out of quarter number 9, racing his Polaris, John Wick. Kirk Hibbert finishes second with an outstanding run. Aaron Shield does what it takes to finish third. Daryl Vick finishes up fourth, and Tony Graham rounding off the top 5 racers. The fastest class in Snowcross is the Pro Open. As in any open class snowmobile race, high performance is what takes you to the winner's circle. These sleds are highly modified with a 1,000cc limit. Dwayne Lossing on his Wildcat is out in front as they come down the moguls. All sleds catching some air. By the end of the second lap, both Hibbert and Wick are battling it out for third place, and Aaron Shield is running second. Hibbert takes Wick coming into the moguls, and he is now stalking Shield and Lossing, pushing real hard, passing both sleds with one smooth move. Hibbert now with quite a distance between himself and Wick. Hibbert continues to charge hard like it was his first lap, not his last lap. As Jerry Dillon prepares to finish the race with a checkered flag, it's going to be Kurt Hibbert. Yes, arm in the air, and he loves it. John Wick does what it takes to finish the race in second place. That's 2 out of 3 pro races for champion Kirk Hibbert. The final race of the weekend once again saw the pros line their sleds up for this feature event. Like a repeat of the open class, it's Dwayne Lossing leading the field into the moguls. Wick now pressing his sled through the field. As we go around 3, it's Hibbert weaving his way around other sleds. Lossing puts the first lap in the record book, followed by Wick. Hibbert's putting the moves on Dan Fana. Wick on the AN-XLT continues to push hard, going wide in hopes of an airborne pass. He's really dogging Lossing. Hibbert on his side, he doesn't waste any time here as he regains his 4th place spot. This is where racing experience is evident and becomes invaluable to this racer. Coming out of turn 9, it's Lossing and Wick. Lossing cutting back on Wick, trying to keep the Polaris driver behind him. Here he is, making his move on Lossing. Wick way out in front, and now the battle continues between Hibbert and Lossing. It doesn't get more exciting than this when it comes to snowmobile racing. 1 lap to go, and Wick still riding in first spot. Hibbert now in second spot. Hibbert pours on the power, giving it all he can, hunting Wick with the cat. Hibbert right on Wick's tail. What a competition we have unfolding in this dash for cash race. Coming around corner 9, it looks like it's going to be John Wick with Hibbert second, Dwayne Lossing third, followed by Dan Fana and Dan Sturgeon, all on Arctic Cats. What an exciting race we have witnessed here today. Whether you're going straight and fast or up and down and fast or going fast and turning left, snowmobile racing is definitely one of motorsport's most exciting race venues. So until the next race season, it's go fast and go safe.